Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Catholic Mama here on YouTube. I wanted to spend a little time today talking about and giving a review, honest review of the Good and the Beautiful homeschool curriculum. I initially came across this, a friend had sent it, or a follower on Instagram had sent me the link to the Good and the Beautiful and asked if I had ever heard of it. At the time, I hadn't, but I was also pretty set in our homeschooling curriculum for that year, because it was like kind of towards the middle of the school year. So I wasn't really looking for anything. And I said this, I looked at it, looked good. I got, the site is the great thing about this website is that they offer free versions of some of the programs, especially with the language arts and reading. So I was able to at least get a passing look at some of the parts of the curricula. And I liked what I saw, but again, we were already pretty set in our what we were using for that particular school year. So I set it aside. Then the world kind of went wonky, even wonkier than it usually is. And it was my husband and mine fault. We wound up talking too much about politics and current affairs and in front of our children, and noticed that there was a change in temperament and just love of life. And it seemed like we were kind of darkening as a family, not living the light, the joy that we ought to live as Catholics. So it's like, something needs to change. We need to somehow, get those transcendentals, the good, the beautiful, the true. Wait a minute, good and beautiful. Isn't that something I saw before? So I wound up going back and looking at the good and the beautiful. And it was exactly what I wanted to bring into our homeschool life, after kind of noticing that we weren't being as joyful as we ought to be. And so I, against what I usually recommend as far as homeschool goes, I canned what we were using and wound up going almost exclusively, just to get through the school year, to the Good and the Beautiful. I was so impressed by the curriculum once we put it together and put it into use. My children were kindergarten or first grade and kindergarten when we started this, and they learned to read so fast. It was incredible. I was shocked. Now we're a family of readers. My children also like worksheets, so the Good and the Beautiful is perfect for us, right? So that's the first thing to note, is that it's workbook heavy. And they do have, like, when we do the science, they do have experiments and hands-on stuff. And it also has a lot of manipulatives though as well, a lot of handheld things, especially for math. So there are touchy things and experiments, but it's just worksheets. There's a lot of worksheets and some videos, but a lot of worksheets. But my kids like that, so it works for us. Now, if you have a child who resists you on worksheets, maybe that's something to take into consideration. But for us, my kids love worksheets. They love reading, and they have good attention spans already. So the lessons, I think, are a little bit longer than what we were doing before. However, everything about it is beautiful, right? They impart great values, even in small ways. So we are currently doing their marine science. We're finishing up a marine science unit, for example. And just in the introduction to a couple of the lessons, it'll have a scripture passage about how God created the oceans and the seas and all of the creatures therein. And it's great just to see that connection is made. Like, God created all of this. It's beautiful. It's awesome. It's spectacular. Let's learn more about it. And then there's also hands-on experiments that are pretty easy to put together. We had a pause on learning about echolocation just until I forgot to collect the paper towel rolls when the paper towels had run out. So I needed to wait until like 2 days basically to get 2 paper towel rolls. But most of the experiments or the activities are things that I would imagine most households would have on hand that have children, craft supplies and paper towel rolls, Crisco for something about the use of blubber for in the cold Arctic waters. These are things that are either you're going to have on hand or they're pretty inexpensive anyway. So yes, worksheets. It's worksheets. You have to sit and talk to your child. And I think as the years go on, we're not there yet. As the years go on, I think that there are self-directed lessons or like math videos to watch. The Good and the Beautiful is just elementary and middle school and preschool. They do preschool stuff. And not, I don't think they're planning on doing high school. So if you're at that point, then I'm sorry. I'm sure you'll find something really great. I'm not there yet. So I haven't looked very much. So it's worksheet heavy. My kids like that. The worksheets themselves though are very nice. I'm going to show you. So I've done a couple, you have the option for the Good and the Beautiful to buy. Sometimes they're free. I think the language arts is free. You can buy or get the free downloads and have a PDF version, which you can then print off, put into a binder. This is what we do in a binder here. Worksheets. However, I have a wireless printer and it's HP, and I'm supposed to get ink sent to me frequently. I'm out of colored ink right now, so this is actually making it more difficult. So it's ink heavy, as you can see at this, right? Ink heavy. So if you're printing at home, just take that into consideration. I wound up getting the PDF versions of pretty much all of them, simply because I'm going to have many children using this. But looking back on it now, I'm wondering if maybe just buying the workbooks would have been better. And I think maybe next year I will, because the reliance on my own printer, the ink shortages currently in the supply chain, and trying to get ink and paper, things are just getting more expensive. So I think going forward, I might just start buying these great notebooks. It's printed beautifully on nice thick paper. It's spiral bound. Great quality. They're thin enough, so and they also have this nice thicker cover, so it's not going to tear very easily. So I think going forward I might do that. Now but I will probably continue to do the printable, the PDF digital copies of maybe some of the science, because those are not going to happen as frequently, and they don't have as many papers associated with them to print. So I think, now looking at having done this for 2 years, this kind of jerry-rigging my own. And I know you can, a friend of mine said that you can get a spiral ring notebook tool and make your own spiral ring notebooks. I never got it. So I'm just hole punching and putting into, a binder for my children. Now for handwriting, however, I just went ahead and bought the notebooks, because we're not going to reuse it. And to be honest, just printing all that out is just too much. Actually, in these handwriting notebooks, the Good and the Beautiful were nice enough to gift to me to get I'm sorry, my brain just stopped working. In order to give a review, an honest review. Thank you. Okay, here we go. We're back online. And I gotta say, we already love the Good and the Beautiful and the handwriting. My children's handwriting is still, they're still young. It still needs work, but that's what the handwriting notebooks are for. And I love that it takes into, did they even do any of these pages yet? They might not have done a page yet, but I'll just show you. I like that it has nice pictures with it. It has spaces to draw your own. It has, here we go. Here we go. So there's one that's been done, right? It has write your name on the top, trace the letters, write your own, a fun little connect the dots. Then there's also spaces, right, for draw your own. On this, it's a prompt of draw a picture of a road and mountains or anything you want. They also have copying of scripture. It gives advice on, how to making sure that they're writing correctly, right? Don't start your cues up there. They need to be flush with the line down here. They also have sections for parents to review and give mini assessments as well. And it's all very nice. They have poems. So that's just the handwriting. The language arts program is wonderful. And it includes, for somebody who, I researched heavily into Charlotte Mason, and we tried. And I know some people really like Charlotte Mason, and I love the ideas of it, but in practice for our family, it doesn't work. And I think it was just a little too dry for us. What I like about the Good and the Beautiful, it seems like it takes some of that into account. So we have art appreciation, and living books, really interesting reads. poem memorization, copywriting, all of this stuff is in there. And it's really rigorous. These lessons take maybe 20 minutes a piece for language arts and then also for math. So that's 40 minutes per child if you're doing more. Now I have a child who's just doing pre-K4, and we just do 1 or 2 lessons a week as the time allows. It's not, she more asked me to do it rather than me pushing her, but she's learning to spell and write letters and read. And so the amount of progress that my kids have made is incredible. They're in first and second grades now, and they just moved up to the next grade level in language arts because and it's only because The Good and the Beautiful, they're reading so well. They're on chapter books. I mean, it's just incredible to me because I didn't know how to teach somebody to read, and this just took all the guesswork out for me. And it's really nice. I mean, we're talking about journal entries. We've done book reports. It's just a really, it's beautifully laid out. It's clearly laid out with instructions, I think in blue type for the parents who are going along, have the child read this to the child, discuss this, here's some questions. So it takes all the guesswork. You don't have to be a great teacher naturally or a trained teacher naturally, to get all this stuff. I find it to be so simple to implement, right? It's this open and go. Here's what you get, here's what you do. For math, they start off with a daily review, how to write the date, some basic facts, maybe some adding up of coins. So they're learning their money denominations. There's stories that they tell a lot of the math lessons in story form. So I know my son, the one that we're currently on is about a little boy named Asher, who's a newspaper boy. And my son has been very interested in Asher as we've been reading it. We actually have an older version of math. I think they just released a new version, but we had purchased this great box full of math manipulatives for grades 1 and 2. So we're going to finish off with that before moving on to the newly created math lessons that the Good and the Beautiful have just put out. The science, again, we've done, so we're using The Good and the Beautiful for handwriting, language arts, which also I should say, I said art appreciation. It also includes geography and social studies. So, I mean, there's a lot bunched into that for these elementary years, which is awesome. I love that connection, right? Where we don't have to do, and have everything in a silo. Like now we're doing geography, now we're doing social studies. However, we do add on. We are doing some specifically Catholic only history, social studies, geography stuff along with it. But I will do a whole curricula amalgamation video another time and how we're blending all of this. For now, we're just talking about The Good and the Beautiful. So we're using it for handwriting, typing. We're using it for typing. They have a typing program. So my kids are learning how to type. Math, science. We did not do history. It is not so The Good and the Beautiful is wonderful as far as teaching values, having it be appropriate for the age, very wholesome, very beautiful to look at. I love the layout. However, they are non-denominational, which means that they are not Catholic. Then they have this whole section I noticed in their history about the brave reformers talking about the Reformation and Martin Luther, which doesn't work for us Catholics as far as calling them brave, saying how great it was. So we don't do that. Also, as far as the science goes, everything has seemed fine to me except for one thing. In talking, we did an astrology, study of the stars, outer space stuff, and they got Galileo wrong, and about mostly in terms of Galileo and his relationship with the Catholic Church. It was basically they just regurgitated falsehoods about Galileo and his relationship with the Catholic Church that if you just typed up what happened with Galileo, you might find on the internet. However, it's anti-Catholic and it's wrong, right? Galileo he wasn't persecuted because he said that everything in the universe didn't revolve around Earth. It was that he was disobedient to the Pope, who had asked him to hold off on publishing his studies and his research until they had time to review it a little bit more. The Catholic Church had been financing all of this. We're a church filled with scientists who have come up with the Big Bang Theory and genetics. The Catholic Church loves science. So the way that they just presented Galileo was incorrect. Now, So far, that's all I've seen. That's a problem. But hopefully that's it, So, so that's just something to note. Now, as far as I've seen, that's the only issue I've seen. And we've just stayed away from the history. We've done history with a different publisher of curriculum. So that hasn't been an issue for us. But what we have done with the good and the beautiful, again, typing, handwriting, science, language arts, and math, is that my children have learned to read so quickly, better than and faster than I had anticipated. And I don't think I could have done on my own. They're doing a great job on math. They're learning to type. They love the layout. Nobody's complaining about going and getting their notebooks. Right? They're happy, like, okay, school time, who's going first? So what I do, because we have 3 children currently in school, is we will do our individualized good and the beautiful lessons in the morning and family style lessons like science in the afternoon, because the science can be tailored for, and even in the science section, they do have add-ons for older students, like in grade 7 and 8. So you can make it more challenging for older kids or make it a little bit more simple for the younger ones. It works as I like this kind of open and go family style on some of these elective courses. So again, this is our second full year of using the good and the beautiful. I really enjoy it. Their customer service has been great. They may be a little bit, I would plan ahead. Everything's slower these days. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're going to buy the notebooks, that it might take a couple of weeks to get to you. So plan ahead if you're going to use them. And again, I've done the printed version, and I've done the notebook, the pre-printed notebook versions. And I think starting soon, we're going to stop printing, because I'm having a hard time getting ink right now. So I think I'm just going to have to print it. My idea initially, like I said, was that we could use it year after year for kid after kid. But at this point, I'm just having a hard time keeping up with the printing, because it's a bulky. I mean, I think course, language arts 1 is like over 300 pages. So that's a lot of printing. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. I think it's pretty economical as far as homeschool resources go and the budgeting goes. Overall, my final take is that it is a great source for language arts and math, also for handwriting and some electives like typing. When it comes to science, there may be an issue or two if you're Catholic. I've only found one issue, but it's something to keep in mind. If you're nervous and you don't think that you would know the material enough on your own to notice if there's any issues with it, then maybe that's not, maybe this isn't the right curriculum for you. Maybe just stick with something that's completely Catholic and you can trust, and you don't have to kind of cherry pick. But again, the only thing that I've come across so far in the science was an issue with Galileo in the space science elective. Okay, I think that's it. If you have any questions about the good and the beautiful, or if you used it and you have any other comments, please add it in the comment section below. I'd love to hear them. And I hope that you're having a great homeschooling year and planning. If you're in the midst of planning, good luck. And I'm always happy to help. So leave a question and I'll see what I can do for you. All right, everyone, until next time.